In the 15th century, the world changes rapidly. Europeans discover America, Copernicus finally convinces society that the Earth revolves around the sun, not vice versa, and Gutenberg gets the idea that it's more convenient to print books rather than to rewrite them by hand, and that blows everyone's mind. Now literature is available not only to churchmen, but to anyone who can read. The first printed book was the Bible, but soon people realized it was interesting to read not only about gods and heroes, but also about people. And then, the art concentrated on the human being. Now, he is no longer the fruit of sin, but the crown of creation. Renaissance man thinks, therefore he exists. The ancient cult of the healthy body is revived. Philosophers understand that the government isn't divine either. It consists of the same people who just made a social contract among themselves. And at the end of the 18th century, the French not only overthrow the king, but also execute him, declare themselves a republic, and promulgate a Declaration of Human Rights. It turns out that citizens by default have the right to resist oppression, the presumption of innocence, freedom of speech, the right to private property, and many others. Meanwhile, science is discovering more and more new things. Evidently, the compass needle is moved by the Earth's magnetic field. That lightning is not magic, but electricity. And a steam engine is able to work instead of people. The Industrial Revolution begins in the 18th century. Factories smoke the sky, and yesterday's peasants move from the villages where 10 generations of their grandfathers lived to the big cities. Life has changed. Not by the will of gods, but by the man himself. Trying to realize the rapidly changing world, a man comes to a fundamentally new type of thinking. Modern, from the word modernity. Not God must now lead man to heaven, but science and reason. And not after death, but right here on Earth. Protestantism asserts that people must profit and that labor is their service to God. In simple terms, saving money is now a great idea. Earlier, your possessions were your house and livestock, but now you have spare money, which is able to be lent, borrowed, and multiplied. Open a factory, build a church, open another factory. Well done, a good member of society. Look, GDP per capita in Europe remained stagnant for thousands of years, and since the 19th century, it's been doubling in a single human life. After the invention of the steam locomotive, the chances of dying of illness or the hand of a robber while traveling have been dramatically reduced, and steamboats have allowed masses of people to move between continents. Life is no longer a zero-sum game. The common pie is growing too. The lives of most people get better. The poor peasant becomes a wage laborer, and the entrepreneurs and engineers become the masters of life, who can erect a symbol of progress, a 300-meter metal tower right in the center of Paris. Now you can leave the village, change a culture or even religion, get an education, and become a worker or even an entrepreneur. Get rich or die in a city ditch. The choice is yours, as they say. Before, my forefather walked in sandals, as did my grandfather, as did my father, and I will walk in sandals and teach my sons to do so. Now every day is a revolution. Industrial, political, or cultural. The canons in art have also been broken. Portraits replace religious subjects, followed by radically new genres. Impressionism, which in thin strokes conveys a fleeting impression. Cubism, that transforms everything into a geometric mosaic. Futurism, which looks to the future, and other avant-gardes. New genres appear in music, architecture, and literature. It just fuels the idea of constant growth and progress. The whole world in modern is a great mechanism. Any problem that can be solved, just give me the right screwdriver. That is technology. Give me a lever, and I shall move the world. Here are postcards predicting that we'll be able to walk on water and fly on wings. Special caps will protect the cities from bad weather. Postmen will be able to deliver letters right into apartments. And firemen would be able to reach the then inconceivable height of 10 stories. Air police would pursue air criminals, and flying traffic cops would regulate this chaos. Such a wonderful, bright future was imagined in the past. But who set the ideas? Who, set the trends? Belief in the authorities in modern hasn't weakened, just that the churchmen were replaced by priests of truth. They were politicians and scientists. They encouraged people to do great things. If necessary, we could turn back the rivers, build cities in the desert, and split the atom. In the USSR, there was a real project to turn the Siberian rivers to supply water to the fields of Kazakhstan. While people in the pre-modern era got involved in building the pyramids just because God needed it, now they get involved in mega projects because the state decided to do so. In the past, Moses parted the waters, and now it's done by state leaders who ordered to build a cascade of hydroelectric power plants on the Volga. The only thing needed to convince people that this is the right thing to do is ideology. Now we're going to change the world, and it will be great. Let's sum up. In modern, the whole world is a mechanism where each screw is responsible for its function, and the source of truth is science and scholars. They're trusted as unconditionally as priests used to be trusted. Information is transmitted through books, new genres flourish in the arts, society is getting industrialized, and manual labor is changing to machine one on a massive scale. The meaning of life in this new world is to know it to the full and to subjugate nature to ourselves. Modern reaches its apotheosis in the 20th century. People consider themselves the new gods and are ready, for the sake of ideas, to organize a revolution or to kill others. Planetary ideologies emerge, which claim to have scientifically deduced the ideal construction of society, the way of ideal society construction. For example, Nazism, communism, and global liberalism. Each claims to know how to create a paradise on Earth. Nazism is based on the idea of social Darwinism, making life a struggle for existence where the strongest survive. The goal of Nazism is the rebirth of the nation and the creation of a superhuman who will conquer everything. As a result, society in a particular country should come to unity, strength, purity of the nation, and victory over all the others. Communism is different. It emerged out of Marx's ideas. The goal is to lead people to a classless society without kings, priests, or bourgeoisie, which means no exploitation. Justice is everywhere, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs. Isn't this heaven on earth? Heaven, which is built on rational principles. That is, based on rules. The third great project of modern, global liberalism, leads to a planet where people are free from all restrictions of religion, tradition, and state. A person is the master of his life and can self-develop any way he wants. But all these great projects of modern failed to succeed. Nazism led to World War II and concentration camps. Attempting to build communism resulted in an economic collapse, starvation, and the Gulag. Liberalism is still alive, for example in America or Europe. But it failed as a global, planetary idea that promised happiness and freedom to every person on Earth. For example, the Americans failed to build democracy in Afghanistan. Not for me, say the Afghans, go away. The 20th century demonstrated that happiness can't be built on bones. You can't mindlessly change nature, turn back rivers, drain swamps, or impose your politics on the other side of the world with weapons. If global ideas turn into such crap, then maybe it's better to live without an idea at all. People got tired of being part of other people's global agendas. Philosophers call it the collapse of meta-narratives. In simple terms, it's the collapse of great ideologies. People have realized that both religion and science can lead to mistakes. Conversion to one's religion or ideology can end in blood, while science invented ever more effective ways to kill and led to the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What does it mean? It means that you don't have to trust any authority 100%. But always look for questions, ask questions, and look for answers yourself. At the same time, after World War II, technology changes dramatically, especially communications and media. Books are replaced by radio, television, and then the internet. Now everyone can express his priceless opinion. People in the Russian village discuss the trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and in New York, they demand freedom for the Russian politician. Now, we're like old gossips who discuss our neighbors and think we know everything about everyone. We know all the reasons. Or, as the philosopher Marshall McLuhan said,
"The world is now a global village.